this is the new year. We've got we decided to get together. It's a perfect opportunity for me to have a weekly catch up with my best mate, who I've known for like over 30 years. And we're just going to chat some shit. We're going to talk about what's happening in the world. We're going to talk about some technologies, etc. And we've decided that this needs to cover it needs to cover how humans do things and create things. And the best way to describe this, for me, I thought the term the imagination engine, because at the end of the day, that's how everything around us comes into existence. You know, the way I like to look at it is that all items, even buildings, cars, heavy machinery, nuclear power plants, they start off in here in somebody's mind, and you kind of extrude the thing out into the real world, whether it's by taking a bit of pencil, paper, and drawing out a sketch and whatever. It's all coming from this imagination engine right here, and this gives you the opportunity to think up anything. I would go as far as to say that the possibilities are endless, and you call that hyperbole, say that's oh, that's just some wild speed. But I actually think if you can think it up, you can create it. So I think the perfect way to refer to this is Imaginengine Sessions. So yeah, this is the first episode of the Imaginengine Sessions, and we're going to talk about all the things that this thing in here has kind of brought into being, brought into creation, and what is happening right now. Because right now I'm seeing a lot of crazy things that it's coming out of people's minds, and I think the very thought that we had about 2 years ago, like the ChatGPT moment, where you had the Google Transformer paper, and it'd been around a while, and you had a bunch of guys at OpenAI, which coincidentally was founded by one of the people who I think is really good at using his Imaginengine, which is Elon Musk. He founded OpenAI, and then he handed it over to Sam Altman, who has just turned it into this wild enterprise, and it's turning out all kinds of large language models which are doing incredible things. So yeah, I think at the moment, from all the things I've been seeing coming out CES, it's literally really boggling my mind. In fact, okay, this just to set the template a little bit, because I think Naz, you've been delving into a little bit of the text generation to video models.
Yeah.
I saw, it's funny, I saw this. Let me just quickly show you this, but I think this kind of sets the tone. It's a cat video. Everybody loves cat videos, right? Yeah. But it just shows you how far things have got. Hold on, let me just share this with you, man. So it's just fun. It's fun. Let's see. Let's do this. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So this is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So, okay. Interesting.
Perfection.
Good. That is insane.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, insane. You can't watch that and not be absolutely amazed at the fact that only 2 years ago we had just text generation. Like just let me just prompt to just maybe create a document for me or to create some paragraphs for me or give me the answer to something. 2 years later, we now have that.
You mentioned earlier you mentioned about that chat GPT moment. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's funny because obviously when I had that chat GPT moment myself, it just kind of I don't know, it's just like things that I felt that were impossible became possible, you know?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, and you know what I'm like. I like to share things, and when I find something, I like to share it.
Mm.
But especially with the chat GPT moment, I was sharing a lot more because simply I wanted to witness other people have that moment of like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Because it's so it is so like life changing. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? You know, especially when
Yeah.
people think that, they when they don't realize, when they finally do realize that, wait a minute, I can do this, I can do that, you know. It's especially when it comes with, I mean, how it's been rebranded as AI, you know what I mean? But it's obviously, you and I know that it's been around for time, and it is the way it was always, whether people like it or not, it was always going to lead to this moment or these moments and stuff, you know, from
Yeah.
the inception of, the computer, like the, processor, CPUs, the brain, and whatever type of things,
It was always coming. It was
you
on
know,
the way.
it was
It,
underway.
it, it's
Yeah.
funny because I remember like because you there was a specific window in time where you were so ahead of the curve because you were telling me what was coming.
Yeah.
And at that time, it felt like magic, but that's because you were at the stage where you were testing all the stuff. You could see like all the hardware that was coming that
Yeah.
was actually going to make all this stuff possible.
Yeah.
And and what is really insane is that like right now there's so from my some of my kind of investments that I've been making, etc. I've started to understand the hardware that is making this stuff possible. So just no secret, I invest in NVIDIA, and so I watch all their product announcements, etc. And the build out that they've been doing of servers and server racks with their H100s, and it is completely insane.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. That's what's powering. It's underneath the hood of all the stuff we're seeing now. You
Yeah.
know, but they've done such a huge build out, and this is where I think people haven't really caught on yet. They've done such a huge build out that the capacity that is yet to be tapped into has not even been tapped into yet. This is like a plaything with yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, once we really start kind of taxing the build out of what they've already done, the stuff that will be happening will be beyond belief.
Yeah.
Which is why some of the things I'll discuss later on, but as we go on. But the I think a lot of people are kind of they are underestimating this wave. And part of that is yet again, it's kind of part of the what's the best way to describe it? It's how humans understand things.
Well,
Okay, so as humans, we are really good at understanding like how things progress in a linear way. So it's like, I do this, I go there, it's in a step, and that step happens, and that step happens, and that step happens, all within like some amount of time. We are completely rubbish at understanding exponential growth and exponential curves, basically, and how things develop in that manner. And that's what's happening here. it's funny. I've heard people talk about this for so long with like Moore's law, etc. While with the microchip, and for the first time, I'm starting to really get it, because this is why I said earlier on, 2 years since that ChatGPT moment, and we're at, text generation to video. So think about if let's go back a little bit just to make the point a little bit more poignant. Okay. So yeah, think back to when we had the iPhone moment before everything went mobile, right? So from that iPhone 1 moment to smartphones being completely ubiquitous, I would say it was probably a good 10 years.
Let's remember the iPhone killed the BlackBerry, though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Like, completely destroyed. And it's funny because even always at those times when these things happen, you'll get people who will see it and they wouldn't believe in it, which was, I remember at the time, like you had the BlackBerry kind of, like fundamentalists, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if it doesn't have a physical keyboard, it is not going to work. No one's going to buy this.
And the way that it was kind of marketed, like, it's a business. If you're, if you're really like,
if you're a serious person, if you're a serious person doing business, you're not going to use one of these smartphone things. You're going to want a keyboard.
Yeah, and it's funny that it's all that it boiled down to that people loved the most. I mean, maybe it was probably a lot more, was the BB Messenger. Do you know what I mean? So it was
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So back to my earlier point is that took like 10 years,
right.
An average. Then let's go back to the personal computer. That started in the 70s, and that didn't become ubiquitous till like the 90s. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that took about 30 years, really, 20 to 30 years to really become something that everybody had in their household. Smartphones, 10 years. Okay, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Everybody's using it already. And in fact, it's
not everybody. Not everybody, because there's like even some of people I knew like a few days ago, I gave them the ChatGPT Moment. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like,
oh, serious?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so steeped in this. I feel like everybody's got to be touching this somewhere.
Yeah. Not everyone.
But saying that though, generative AI, everybody is using it. They just don't know they're using it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Because it's baked into everything. It's like autocomplete. It's your generative AI.
Yeah, autocomplete. That's the saying, like, especially for some of these like purists, AI. I mean, like, they've been using AI without it being branded as AI. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Adobe and Photoshop and all the kind of stuff that they've been doing for years. Do you know what I'm saying?
The content-aware fill.
Content-aware fill. All that type of stuff. They mentioned it. They've mentioned like artificial intelligence and bits and pieces and stuff, but it wasn't kind of branded as AI till like just a few years ago when it became a thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But actually, AI has been mentioned a lot, but it hasn't been kind of been in the forefront of what it is right now, kind of thing.
Yeah. But I think what you just said is actually something that makes this even more not necessarily concerning, but it's where we really need to keep our eyes out and our eyes open, because at the moment it's in things that people are using anyway, right? And right now we've got this big moment. Everybody's focusing on some of these apps and these LLMs, etc. And it's like there's a focus on them with AI. You're using AI, but we're going to go full circle to a point where it'll be in everything, like in everything, that we wouldn't even realize we're just using it. And that's where it gets really, really, really concerning, because at that point, there will be no difference. It will just be embedded in our culture and our lives. You know, you will be on like, I don't know, Messenger or on X or whatever, and you'll put in a message, but the message will create a prompt to just, I don't know, add an image generated to your tweet or to your SMS you send, or all these things are going to come, and it'll just merge with everything. To the point where you won't be able to tell the difference.
Meta has done that already with, especially on, I noticed like maybe about a few weeks ago on Instagram, when you go into the messaging section of Instagram, they've got their own AI thing that's embedded inside there as well, kind of thing. You can ask questions and everything. But Kwams, I want to show you a video thing that I came across the other day. It's a short. Hopefully, the audio will come up with Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay, go on.
I don't know if you've seen it. But
no,
it might relate to what we've been saying. 1 second, let me just go.
Artificial intelligence we've encountered in our life, pretty artificial, right? AI began. All we had was real intelligence, beginning of mankind, right?
Yes.
Didn't work. So we were dumb. Still dumb.
So yeah.
All our thinking.
Intelligence
So we
didn't work.
kept thinking until we could create a fake version of it, so dumb people would seem smart.
Yeah.
And then we thought, well, maybe that wasn't the smartest thing. Because what if the fake brain gets smarter than the real brain? We would look even dumber. So, if I got this right,
Yes.
we're smart enough to invent AI, dumb enough to need it, and so stupid we can't figure out if we did the right thing. Artificial intelligence, let's be honest,
Yeah, so that
you know what? You have to hand it to Jerry. You have to hand it to Jerry Seinfeld.
yeah.
He literally he hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, just to add to that, actually, because basically this is one thing that it's a thread that, like, us as humans, we constantly, as I said initially, like, we can think up anything and everything, and we literally just extrude it out of our minds. Like some of the most incredible machines. You can see giant, trucks that pull lumps of coal and metal ore from the ground. That somebody designed that. Somebody organized a bunch of people to get together and melt iron and whatever and build this and build engines, whatever, to do this stuff. Yeah, it all came from someone's mind. But every time we do this, every new thing we create, it comes with a whole bunch of problems. And whenever it comes with a whole bunch of problems, we then have to start thinking again. For a long time, we ignore the problems. Then we go back and say, okay, we've created all these problems. We need to think of solutions to these problems. And it creates a whole bunch of solutions, each with more problems. This is the cycle. And exactly. And as you just said right there, we're smart enough to create, smart enough to need AI, but dumb enough to need AI, but not smart enough to realize whether we've done the right thing or not. It's because what we're about to do is create a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah.
And those problems we're going to need AI to solve.
Yeah, it's true. And then, and
then the cycle continues.
Yeah, and then what happens when it comes to like super intelligence and the AI thinking, you know what? Wait a minute, these guys are so dumb. Do we actually need them? Do you know what I'm saying?
That's a scary one, man.
Yeah, and then comes the Terminator theory. You know what I mean? Skynet and all that type of stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? But
you know what? With the Terminator theory, that's not too far fetched, because that is just one wrong prompt to A. It's one wrong prompt, and actually, it's a very simple prompt. and people have done this this exercise, where you kind of go, all right, you have an AI which running like some sort of and then paperclip factory or whatever, and you ask it to optimize, I don't know, the process of making paperclips, and it can easily start to think, okay, so I have to optimize paperclips, but why do I need to optimize paperclips? Humans use paperclips and humans use paper, and but they don't need to be used. If we remove the humans from the equation, then we don't need to optimize paperclips to optimize humans or whatever, and that way I reach my goal. And that's the thing. It's you have stuff like that where you give the wrong prompt, the wrong set of incentives, and an intelligence can work out. Like you say, okay, in fact, this was really well illustrated in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Okay, because I don't know whether you remember this, but where Tony Stark goes, peace in our time, it's what is the aim he wants to get to. And Ultron was like, well, if you want peace in your time, I need to take over and get rid of humans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
because that's the thing. That's the prompt. You get people, we want, as the humans, the human species must have peace. Give us peace. Okay. Well, the AI is inevitable thinking would be, well, get rid of humans, then there's no war, and then they'll have peace.
Yeah. I mean, we are disruptive in our own right, in conflicts and stuff like that. But Kwame, let's kind of I want us to go a little bit more in a chronological kind of phase, and in terms of like how technology has kind of been we have developed through the use of technology throughout the years and stuff. We can go right back to the caveman stages and stuff like that, but I want to probably kind of maybe keep it to modern times. What do you feel was the first disruptive element where technology has disrupted how humans kind of like deal with life and stuff,
I mean, that goes right to the very beginning.
I know. That's
the creation of fire.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. True.
Fire changed everything.
Fire changed everything.
In fact, to be honest, not just fire. It goes back further than fire. I'd say. I would say. So, there are some theories. Okay, before I get deep into the weeds, I think when our ancestors started eating meat, that was one of the changes. I couldn't tell you for certain when that happened. People are saying that if I'm literally, I'm gonna pull random numbers out of my head now, right now. I'm gonna pull them right out of my ass.
It's okay.
We're not going to be factual here.
No, yeah, don't worry. That's what I'm saying. Don't worry. Zuckerberg has pulled the fact checkers, mate, so we're good.
It's like the fact checkers here. So that if you're watching this and you know the date, put it in the comments below. All right, nice. Yeah. Okay, but basically, I would say because I think once you started eating meat, and this was probably before fire, I'd say, we started getting, because meat is energy dense, and that allowed us to go for longer without having to constantly forage and sort of gather for food. Because I think before that point, before we had energy dense foods to eat, we would have to spend most of our time like animals do. Like they graze, they kind of, over time, because they need to keep themselves sustained. I think what happened is that we got to a point where it's like, we can eat, or we developed the ability to eat. This would be early like primates started
Okay.
eating meat, and then that was like, oh, okay, we eat so regularly, so we can do other things like groom ourselves and build social structures, and then our brains started developing in that regard. Then later on, we then figured out fire, which meant we could cook our food, and then meant we could even pack in more energy into meals. So we reduced the amount of times we need to eat even more. So we could literally eat like one meal like a day, probably even less, but it'd be so packed with nutrients because we cook it, make it easier to digest. All that changed our internal physiology, made our digestive tract different to all the other creatures, which is why we have like our like all these microbiomes inside in our gut to kind of break down stuff, etc. But all that kind of then changed humans again. So all those things I think have been leading to human progression until the point where the, we started creating the technological synthesis outside ourselves. You know, so and I mean that from the point of okay, we built shelters around us, and then we built kind of networks of shelters, so we connect between them without having to experience the outside wild world. Because at the end of the day, you know, that's the thing that as humans, that's the thing that kind of uh, makes us special. You know, um, we and I think there are a lot of people who kind of go, oh, humans they destroy the world. They're just like this. It's like, look, at the end of the day, if you took away our ability to think up wild ideas and throw them out into the world and build them and keep us protected, like houses, concrete, etc., or you go back to like wooden shelters or go back to like stone caves or mud huts or whatever, we would be gone. Animals would literally ravage us. We're these plump, like meat vehicles, with very little protection. You know
So,
what I
so,
mean?
so do you feel like that was one of the main factors of how we managed to evolve and become the
Yeah,
dominant
yeah,
species in terms of
yeah, yeah.
all the other species and stuff?
Undoubtedly, we had to, because we have no protection. We don't have thick hides. Yeah, we're fast, but we're not particularly fast. We can't outrun like cheetahs or lions, cats like that. We are strong, but we're not ridiculously strong. We're not like rhinos or elephants or anything like that. We don't have thick hides, potentially. We've got very thin skin. We just the one thing to tip the balance of the scales is that we've got big brains, but bigger brains out of everything else, apart from maybe like blue whales or like etc. And that was our advantage. We have big brains and these things there, which literally genius. I mean,
Yeah,
magic. This is magic right here.
yeah.
This digits can do everything. Yeah,
So,
and
yeah, go on.
yes, and so basically, and one, the cost of we already know the cost of these big brains means that when we have children have to be born and they have to develop outside the body. So it means this is all like biological trade-offs. Like if if a horse has a baby, like a little foal, within minutes, it's standing up on its legs and it's walking, galloping, ready to run. You know what I mean? It's we have babies, human babies, they're this ball of flesh, these lower meat bodies that can't do anything. They can't do anything for at least about 18 months.
Uh-huh.
That's give or take.
Give or
Like
take.
some develop quicker, like my boy was running at the age of like 11, 12 months. He was ready to go. But on some of us, they just they don't develop. And then you have to put them through a process of learning. And I say the learning process for human creatures, before we could reasonably say in the wild world, they could just go off without, assistance from like an adult human, unlike other creatures. It's I'd probably say like between 5 and 7. And that's like 5 years. And that's because of these big brains. These big brains obviously require a lot of development outside the body, but that's our trade-off.
Yeah.
And so from that regard, we had to work in a totally different way. We couldn't work like everything else. And part of that, the part of the big brain means we need to plan, we need to prepare, we need to build protections around ourselves. So actually, I think some people kind of describe like they describe like the human kind of. Let me put it this way: we create things, and we think of them as artificial. They're not artificial. It's not from somewhere else. It's from this earth, and we created them. Yes. Yeah, maybe even things like plastic. It's from we created it from Earth. It's not from outer space. It's from here. So at the end of the day, it's not foreign. It's from here. It just doesn't obey the standard rules that we think it should. It takes like millions of years to decompose. Yes, but still, actually, oil itself is from the earth. So it's not foreign. So at the end of the day, I think it's, as humans, we create these things, but they are our version of what they called snail shells. They're our versions of coral. They're our versions of of a spider's web. That's what we do. As humans, that's what we create. This is how we, and of course, at scale, it looks huge and it looks like imposing and whatever. But that's just us creating our environment around us to live in, and they're just more complex creations.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so, all right, I'm just kind of going back to my original thing in terms of like the kind of inventions that we've done. From what I kind of understand from what you're saying, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we are unique in a way because of our brain capacity to utilize our resources in order to try and improve, our things in order to make us more efficient. So, for example, like when it came, we mentioned when fire was was kind of first discovered or created, or shall I say, and what you mentioned about meat and energy and stuff like that. But let's kind of move a little bit more forward to a certain extent. So, for example, obviously, don't forget tools that we use to cut things and everything.
Yeah, of course, stone tools and
Let's just move even forward, because I don't want to stay in those regions for now, because I want to try and move to where we are currently. So obviously the wheel and stuff like that, and then maybe the horse and cart and stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Based on the wheel,
and stuff. And then probably I'm not doing it in any kind of order, but then that kind of move was an automobile and stuff like that. Let's not talk about it. Obviously, there's electricity. You mentioned oil and stuff like that. It all combines various bits and pieces.
But can I just I don't want to cut you up.
No. But it's a point to go forward.
But the things that as you're walking through it now,
sure,
you can see that every step of this, we take one foundation, and then what we learn from that foundation, we then build another on top. And then we build another on top, and then we layer another on top, and then we layer another on top. And as we are doing that, this is what it's giving us, this exponential ramp up. So back to the original start, those things that, yes, we had the wheel, and then we had horse and carts. We had horse and carts for decades. thousands of years. That's just how people got around.
Yeah.
And it took until the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
And then, we started creating turbines with steam, etc. And then from there, we started learning how to create electrical engines, exactly, and just started shrinking things down. So, and as we do that, that time period gets shorter and shorter and shorter.
Exactly.
And then also, what we then have to do is, you see it with our education system, it has to change, because what happens is that it's not so much about getting a human, either human animal, sort of like birth, and then just making sure that they can walk around and handle themselves and feed and clothe themselves. Like, you have to fill their minds with all this knowledge of what's happened previously, just so that they can hit the ground running and try to catch up. I'm seeing this at the moment with my own kids. It's like this, and I think of stuff we had to learn when we were growing up. And I'm looking right now, it's like some of the stuff they're learning, like, you guys are learning this now. They're having to speed run everything.
Yeah.
Because where everything is at now, it's super advanced. It's like, so you guys need to learn all the stuff everybody had a lot of time to learn. You have to learn it quickly. Because now you've got to get to this point here. And in fact, what's happening as well is that some of them are just jumping everything. They're just going straight to that stuff and not understanding the context underneath.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous in itself. Because
let me just add to something. You just kind of like, even with the education system and what you just mentioned with your kids and everything, think about pre-calculator and post-calculator. Do you know what I'm saying?
Abacus.
Yes, exactly. And to a certain extent, like, the question is, just based on just that alone and what's come through and what you say in terms of your kids, are we relying so much on technology where Seinfeld was basically saying that we're becoming dumb because pre-calculator, we had to do all the mental arithmetic and all those bits and pieces and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And as you know, we are using less and less of our brain to do these certain things. So are we becoming dumb, or are we becoming more intelligent because we've got more tools to kind of, you know what I'm saying? So
this is a great question, and something I think about a lot. So, are we becoming dumb or becoming more intelligent? This is not. I think it would be easy to say, nope, we're getting dumber. We are to a degree, yes. We certainly are to a degree. Because, let me take that slide for a second. How we're definitely losing skill sets, and we're definitely getting dumber. Okay, so we grew up at a time where we had to remember each other's phone numbers. We had to remember probably like a whole list of phone numbers in our heads, and we'd probably have a little address book that we carried with us in case we had others. But I don't use that skill set anymore. It's in fact, just, you know what, I just thought, let me just see, can I actually remember? I can actually remember one of my old phone numbers, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, but nowadays, like, I don't even, it's not something my brain thinks of, I need to remember this to do this.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, there are skill sets that we previously had that we just don't need to use it. They're almost irrelevant. And in fact, this is similar with what I say, what's happening within the education system. There's skill sets that are being taught that I don't know if they're relevant anymore. I think but they're saying that at the same time. Let me take the other side, which is, are we becoming dumber because of the use of these things?
Yeah.
Well, you could say we're also becoming smarter because a lot of the grunt work that we used to do so we could get higher level thinking is being done for us. So we can just go to the higher level thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, okay, so for instance, instead of me having to sit there and go, I want to solve a particular problem. I want to create, and I'm just using a context that this is immediately familiar to me. I want to create an app that does X, Y, and Z, etc., whatever. And I have to go and learn to code, all this sort of stuff, etc.
Mm-hmm.
If I've got something that will write the code for me, I could just deal with a high level of thinking and go, I need to solve this problem. Help me solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so from that regard, you change the level of thinking. You know, you don't have to go through all the steps underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Question is that more? Is that smarter? Is that dumber? This is where, as I said, it's a bit of a gray area. It changes your order of thinking. Like if I want to be creative now, if I want to make music, I want to be able to express something musically. Well, it doesn't make me smarter if I learn to play the drums and the guitar and the piano and then put it all together, or if I know how to orchestrate things to put them together in a way that melodically sound good.
Okay.
You see what I mean? It just it's I think it's a trickier question than you know.
I think
it's simple yes or no. It's nuanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? It's just that because it's interesting because there's always that there's always that kind of argument, you know, on when people rely too much on technology. Like for example, like you know, talk about numbers. Sometimes people barely know their own numbers. You know what I'm saying? Their own telephone numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you right? I mean, you raised a great point in terms of like before we used to remember each other's numbers and stuff. You know what I mean? But because now we don't necessarily need to remember each other's numbers because as we just go into our phone book and just, you know, or just the last dialed or whatever, most recent, whatever.
Hey Siri, call Nana for me.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I'm saying? To the point where we don't even need to remember. But for example, like if you lose your phone or it's a bit of emergency, your battery's dead and stuff like that, then then you come to the point of like, oh my God, how can I get hold of this person or you know, but that's the kind of like trade-off kind of thing.
Yeah, that is the trade-off, and you're very right because that's the thing.
But at the same time, like what you're saying with your kid is just that because of technology, you know, you know, like you said, oh my God, are you actually learning this thing now? Kind of thing. In fact, with my nephew, say exactly the same thing. You know, it's just like I look at the things that he's learning, and I'm like, gosh, mate, you know what, mate, you're on your own on that one. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like quite advanced. Do you know what I'm saying? To a certain extent. But then okay, let's
just before we kind of we shift gears, I just wanted to say because I think we kind of glossed over the dangers of the case we made about the acceleration. Because all right, there's have you watched this have you watched the film damn it, what's it called again? It's solely some it's by Mike Judge, you know, the guy who did Beavis and Butthead. It's it's damn it, I've got to find this one because
what's the general consensus? What's the general context of it?
It's wish I could remember the name. It'll come to me like once. Okay, the context is that you have this guy who's in the army and this random woman or whatever, and they get frozen, like cryogenically frozen, and they wake up like I don't know, like a couple of thousand years in the future, and instead of thinking like, you know, everything's kind of amazing, everything's solved, everything's super dumb. and the world is a complete mess. It's a bit like Wally in a sense, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's even more ridiculous. But the point being that the people who populate the future don't understand how any of the stuff that they use was built, so they were not able to maintain it or keep it running. So everything's like in various degrees of like deterioration and stuff like that. You know, you've got like, you know, you've got robotics that kind of does really basic stuff. And in fact, they've made it all super basic. So you go to the doctor, and there's just like a robot that's got like a little sort of thing of like sort of simple button that you press just to say where you're feeling pain at, basically. And then it just dishes out pills to you type thing. You know, and it's funny.
It's pretty much getting there, to be honest.
Exactly.
It's like it's already there.
It's already there. It's already there. You know, and this came out in like the early 2000s, I think. You know, and at the time it seemed like a joke. It's a funny movie, but it seemed like a joke. But the more this goes on, the closer we get to that, I'm going to start thinking to myself, man, we are so heading in that direction.
Yeah.
But the things then I'll try to weigh it up, because I like to think that things don't always play out like clearly one way or the other. Because at the same time, you know, at the moment, you have a ton of people out there who will not understand what's under the hood with all these LLMs and these AI generated systems, etc. But then you will also have a small group of people who understand how the stuff works, understand how to create stuff with it. So you've got this tension, but the problem is that if you ever lose those people who understand how it works, we're done. We're cooked, mate.
So I mean, I think you've kind of mentioned something that I was kind of thinking. It's just that it's although technology is open to everybody, not everybody will understand how to use the technology in a way that could better themselves. Do you know what I'm saying?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So in a way, like, you can use technology, like, for example, when you think about the mobile phone, the current mobile phones, smartphones that we have, it's flipping like amazing, but people may just use that smartphone just to go on TikTok. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not necessarily use it because it's a very powerful computer. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know? And especially with the age of AI, which we're in, and how things are advancing and everything, you know. So it's kind of like, to a certain extent, it's just that it's readily available for everybody, but not everybody will really understand the impacts of what it can do. So let's move this forward, right? And let's move it into like a thing which I'm really interested in, and obviously I know you are as well, in terms of music, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And when and how it has kind of like impacted it from, let's say, the 70s onwards and stuff. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we've known record players have been around for a while, the gramophone and stuff like that. But let's just talk about from the 70s and whatever onwards and stuff. And
I know where you're going with this.
and in terms of like, record players have been around for time. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, and the likes of Cool Herc and all those guys and everything. It's just that the way that they, Grandmaster Flash, Bambaataa, all them people, the way that they utilize that, let's call it what it is, technology. Do you know what I'm saying? To by understanding, that's where Cool Herc, although even Grandmaster Flash was an engineer within his own in his own head. He had that kind of engineering kind of background. He was able to understand technology, and was able to kind of use it in a creative way, an innovative way, all of them, in order to create something else. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, which was obviously the birth of hip hop and so forth and so forth. Talk
Yeah,
about, yeah, go on.
but all musical innovations come from people leveraging technology in a different way.
In a
You know,
different way, yeah.
Because, but okay, you talked about cool work, so let's talk about hip hop breaks, like, just for a second.
Mm.
Okay, so hip hop is fundamentally an art form that is creating new music by repurposing other music,
Mm-hmm.
and the technology that allowed you to do that was turntables,
Mm-hmm.
samplers,
Mm-hmm.
and drum machines.
Yeah.
Those key things there.
Synths.
Since I say synths got involved a little bit later, but the fundamentals of hip hop was just sampling, just chopping up. And they did it live first, and then it's like, okay, we can do this live. Oh, right, let's use this machine here, which you can just cut little bits up.
Yes.
So we don't have to keep, spinning the record back and looping this. And in fact, using tapes to loop stuff, basically.
Yeah, and it is exactly the same thing when you're talking about like how human beings use one foundation in order to build another one and
Another one.
Yeah, so I get that. Yeah,
exactly. And then if we want to put an even finer point on it, to about how you take one and then you leverage and then you leverage on top of that one, like our form, we're very sort of kind of aware of and we're sort of immersed in, as like the jungle scene, the drum and bass scene. That was also taking hip hop, what they're done, and building on top of that by just taking the same tools and just pushing them further.
Exactly.
But they kind of went, all right, yeah, okay, so what could you? Oh, take a break. Oh, now pitch the break forward, we can speed it up and oh, that sounds funky, or whatever, or and then let's take bits of music from other genres and just mash them together. Let's take a bit of reggae and let's take some like hip hop breaks and speed them up and put them on top of this, and let's take some synths from like German electronic music and splash them all together, and all of a sudden you create another art form. It's literally just leverage.
It's crazy because like sorry to cut you.
No, go on.
Please all that for. But it's crazy like at that same period when hip hop was I mean, obviously me, hip hop is a culture and all that type of stuff. But let's just talk about the musical side of things, just for those haters out there. Yeah. For those fact checkers, you know what I mean?
Fact checkers, he'll be lurking in the comment threads, man.
But
that is not true, man. That is not true.
Yeah, so I'm fact checking myself and to say that we're focusing on the musical side of things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But parallel to that, was almost parallel, pretty much parallel to that. So we had a disco side of things. Obviously it was the house. You know what I mean? Hip hop and house kind of like came from the same things, and obviously and then it kept on going back and folding into it, and obviously the drum and bass and the jungle and all that the drum and bass, whatever order.
Sorry, just to kind of put a little note on this, actually, and we definitely have to do one session where we just delve into this area alone.
Okay.
It is so deep. It's so deep because house comes like spans with disco, funk, and then funk you go back to rock and roll, and rock and roll you go back to blues. Oh man, I'm telling you, I was listening to this thing with Little Richard, and and it was blowing my mind. Little Richard had like Jimi Hendrix in his band. He had
don't get me started.
Don't get me started. That's a tangent.
We'll come back to
let's do a session on that alone.
100%.
But carry on. Sorry.
You kind of see where I'm going, right? In terms of like the use of technology and how and us being understanding that technology. So a select few, not everybody, a select few understood it and used it to kind of leverage to create new things. Do you know what I mean? In case of that, it was a whole industry. Like obviously rock and roll was, you know, the biggest genre, and then now hip hop is slightly dipping, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But let me just kind of like fast forward to like just a few years ago, like you were talking about the sampling and everything, and how before we used to manually do it, and then obviously the drum machines and stuff like that, we could program things to it, and and now, like, with I don't know, I can't remember which program it is, but I think it's Tractor or one of them ones.
Yeah.
Where I mean, this is probably, you could probably do more things now, but literally you can now kind of like play the music. Do you know what I'm saying? And in turn, you can also like remove the vocals. You can remove the like you could have the instrumental, or you could just have the vocals live, and then you can trigger that kind of as well. It shows you like how that method of sampling and stuff like that has become so advanced to a certain extent.
Max, you have to bear with me a moment. I have to wrap up shortly.
Okay. I think I got to wrap up as well quite shortly. How long have we got?
I think I've got like 5 maybe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I really wanted to kind of just respond to your point there, but also just bring it forward and then bring it right back around to how we started this in the first place.
Go on then.
Which is, so every time people kind of create these new technologies and then they leverage and now we're at the point where you have things like Tractor kind of, we now have, as I said right from the beginning, we've got like this text to video stuff basically. And the one thing that really dawned on me, I wanted to share a video, but I haven't got time to do it now. We can probably add it in afterwards and post or whatever, just because it's really incredible. There's this guy called Jeff Synthesized on Twitter. I kind of follow him, and he's done a short movie using this text.
Fitting name.
Yeah. Fitting name's great brand. Anyway, so I watched it and I realized that what this do is about to democratize movie making. And it's quite ironic that is happening at the same time as the media center of the world, Hollywood, is now in full crisis because it's literally burning, and at the same time, we've now got this technology which allows anyone in the entire world, if they've got a vision, to be able to prompt, create these snippets of video, put them together, and create your own story. Literally, globally, we're just about to start that, where the storytelling becomes democratized. And for me, that one thing hit me so hard, and I was just like, okay, we're at the turn of a whole new age, basically.
Yeah, and also just to round it up, just very quickly, you talked about like the curve, So obviously from the Stone Ages and stuff like that, blah blah blah, it was very kind of like, we were advancing. Then obviously when it came to like, for example, the industrial age, it kind of started going up a little bit. And then what was the other age after industrial? Was it the information age?
The information age, yeah.
The information age. And now we're moving, what age are we right now? What age are we?
Age of intelligence, man.
Yes, the age of intelligence. And literally now, and in each time, the period of time where things are developing is getting shorter and shorter. So now, exactly. So now we got an like a almost linear, but it's still exponential to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Where
straight up
advance so fast. And I think that's a perfect
perfect way to end it off, man.
Yeah.
Perfect way to end it off.
Yeah.
So this is just the beginning, Nance. And I think we can see what develops in the week.
Yes.
And we can catch up again and carry on the discussions. Because I think amazing things are happening. This, like as some people say, what a time to be alive. You know,
Time to be alive, mate. For the good or the bad, mate. We're in
for
it
the
for
good or
long
the bad.
haul, mate. Yeah.
We're in it for the long haul. Let's watch it. Let's watch the ride, right?
All right. All right. My name is Nana Dankwa.
I'm Kwame. This is Imaginengine.
Okay. See you next time. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.